Hashem olam, ay 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 ay, b'terem karetz nivro, le'yis nafso v'chefza kol, azay melech shema nikro, יכלס הכל ay 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 לבדו ימלוך נעלו והוא הויו והוא הווה והוא יהיה בספרו V'yan Shayni, ay 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 ay, lehamshil ela leachbiro, v'lereshis v'lesachlis, v'loz v'amizero, v'hu B'chai gayali, ay 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 ay, b'tzuchev le'b'esoro, v'hu neseo manais li, menos kaisi b'yam ekro, Av kederochi, ay 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 ay, v'yezi shane ve'oera, v'yimerochi gebe'yotzi, Hashem elev elayiro, nay nay nay.
Shalom, my dear friends. Shalom, Shavuot Tov Morach, a good and a blessed week today as we stand on the 22nd day of Elul of this year of redemption, the year 5776, now coming into the closing week of the year. The first year of the new sabbatical cycle, and we are seeing many aspects of redemption all around us in the coming forward of souls that are arousing, getting aroused and awakening to the Torah. It's quite amazing in our generation. And let us this closing week of the month of Elul, as we come up to Rosh Hashanah next Sunday evening, October the 2nd, the beginning of the Rosh Hashanah New Year Festival. Let us strengthen ourselves in the ways of teshuvah and divekut, of attachment to God Almighty through our prayers and devotions and meditations, and through our inner kavanot, our inner intentions, as we fulfill the practical mitzvot from day to day. I'll be speaking at greater length about the significance of this week, the last week of Elul, in my weekly Shavuot Tov hookup, which will be in Israel time, 1800 hours today, just a little less than 2 hours time. And I would like to devote our Kollel time today to our studies of Daniel and of the Holy Mishnah, and to say a few words at the end also about the coming Rosh Hashanah festival. Let me just share a few details about the coming schedule before we launch into the study of Daniel today. The schedule for this week is that of a regular week. That is to say, we will have, God willing, Kollel sessions today and tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday of this week at 4 p.m. Israel time daily, and corresponding times in each location over the world. This coming Thursday will be the last session of our studies for the year 5776. It will not be practicable for us to have a Kollel session next Sunday, because at 4 p.m. in Israel next Sunday, everybody will be in high gear preparing for the coming festival which begins at about just before 6 p.m. Israel time here, and Monday and Tuesday are both festival days of the 2-day Rosh Hashanah festival. Then Wednesday of next week, that is Wednesday week, that is the 3rd of Tishrei, the day after Rosh Hashanah. That is always observed as Tzom Gedalia, the fast of Gedalia, in memory of Gedalia, who was the governor of Judea, appointed by the Babylonians after the destruction of the Second Temple. Indeed, an older contemporary of Daniel, and he was assassinated on the day of Rosh Hashanah, and we yearly commemorate his assassination and the disastrous consequences this had for the ending of all semblance of Judean independence with the Babylonian exile. So this is observed next Wednesday, and for that reason the only Kollel session that we should be having the week after this will be on Thursday of that week, the Thursday after Rosh Hashanah. The following week we have coming up on Wednesday, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. That week we shall, God willing, have Kollel sessions on Sunday and Monday of the week of Yom Kippur, and from Wednesday and Thursday there will be no more Kollel sessions. We then come to the week of the festival of Sukkot, which again begins on Sunday night, 2 weeks after Rosh Hashanah. And during the festival of Sukkot there will not be a regular Kollel schedule. I do hope to be broadcasting live from Jerusalem, particularly on the 5th day of the festival of Sukkot. That is to say, the 20th of October, I believe is the date, 21st of October. That is Thursday of the week of Sukkot, which is the 4th day of Sukkot and corresponds to the Yom HaZikaron, the annual memorial day of the passing on that day of Rabbi Nachman. And it is customary for the Breslov Hasidim to gather and to study Breslov teachings on that day and to celebrate the tremendous illuminations we have received in this latter age from our Rebbe. So that is our schedule this week, normal times. The week after, please do look at the schedule that I will be sending out, the diary that will go out at the end of this week to give you the full schedule for the coming weeks. And with that said, I would like to turn to our studies of Daniel. Shalom. Today, the 22nd of Elul 5776, corresponding to the 25th of September of the year 2016. And we continue with our study of Daniel chapters 11 and 12, which, as I've said, are the whole of Daniel 11 and the first 3 verses of chapter 12 are all parts of one lengthy parasha. Then there is a break, and then we come to the concluding section of chapter 12, which is the closing words of the angel and the divine tribunal to Daniel. And chapter 11, we had already given a general historical overview of the period which Daniel was then prophesying, which subsequently unfolded during the Second Temple period leading up to the destruction of the Second Temple in the year 68 of the Common Era. And as I have discussed earlier, even that whole period when the Second Temple was standing was also seen as a period of galut, of exile, because of the fact that many of the key elements which we await for in the coming temple were absent, such as the Ark of the Covenant and the flask of the manna and the temple anointing oil, and there was no prophecy during most of the latter period of the Second Temple, and although for much of the time Judea was nominally independent, the thumb of Persia, Greece, and of Rome was increasingly felt, and from the time of the destruction of the temple, this was literal exile for the people, very deep subjugation to the growing exile of Edom, joined with Ishmael, and all of this is alluded to in this chapter. The complexity of this chapter is particularly because the period that it was prophesying and which subsequently unfolded, as we have it down in the historian Josephus, Josephon, and also in other historical references to this period, is full of political intrigue. Well, we had reached we'd looked at the first few verses of chapter 11 of Daniel in the Hebrew, and now let us pick it up from the 5th verse of Daniel 11. Vayechezak melech Anegev uminsarov. It was the king of the south that became strong. That the king of the south, as I've mentioned, that is the southern quarter of Alexander's empire, which was in Egypt. So wherever we see in this chapter the king of the south, the literal application of the expression in this prophecy would be to the Egyptian section of Alexander's original empire. But of course, elusively, there is reference here to the two key forces in the world, the north and the south. The north is largely the domain of the children of Japhet, the more successful and more cultured of the children of Noah, whereas the south was the domain of the children of Ham, of whom Noah had prophesied that they would be slaves of slaves. They would fall into this deep servitude. And the unfolding of history is to bring about that the children of Japhet will come under the tent of Shem, will come under the monotheism of the Torah and a respect for the Torah. So here we see this global struggle, as it were, developing. The king of the south gets strong with some of his ministers. Vayechezak olov umoshol mimshol rav memshalto. And he became strong upon him, and he ruled a great government that was very great. That is to say that the king of Egypt is now rising up against the king of the north, and again the northern kingdom, that is the kingdom of the section of Alexander's former empire that was focused on Aram and what is today northern Syria and northern Iraq. I would like to actually quote at this point from the commentary of Malbim, which I've mentioned on various occasions, here on Daniel chapter 8, on verse going from verse 8 there, because Malbim is telling us that what we're studying in chapter 11 at the moment is intended to elucidate what we learned earlier. And in chapter 8, where we had the vision of the ram and the goat, the goat, as we saw in that vision, that was Alexander when he's conquering the world and he overcomes Persia. And Malbim, in his commentary on this verse, tells us what happened in the with the breakup of Alexander's empire, and this is helpful to us to get a better handle on who is the king of the north. So the first king in Egypt, which was the southern sector of Alexander's former empire, Malbim transcribes his name in Hebrew as Baltamius. Then in Asia, that is to say the Turkish, the Anatolian Peninsula, the king there was Seleuki. Seleuki, he was the founder of the Seleucid dynasty, and in Babylon, which is considered to be the north, and this Seleucus, who ruled over Asia and Babylon in the north, Asia again referring to the Anatolian Peninsula, which is what the Greeks called it, Asia. Asia is not what we consider to be Asia as a whole, is Asia Minor, the Anatolian Peninsula. So this King Seleucus was the king. Seleuki was the king over Asia Minor, Babylon, and the north. And out of his seed came Antiochus the Wicked. Now, there's another. The eastern sector of Alexander's empire was ruled by the first Antiochus. That is not the Antiochus the Wicked that I just mentioned, but this was the original Antiochus who ruled over Persia and over the eastern Asian sector of what had been Alexander's empire. And meanwhile, in the west, the brother of Alexander, whose name was Philippoi, he ruled over Greece. So here we have had basically these four sections of Alexander's former empire: the Egypt, Asia Minor, extending across through Iraq, out of which came the Seleucid dynasty with Antiochus. Then there was the eastern sector, Persia, which was ruled over by another Antiochus known as Antiochus the First. And then the western sector was ruled over by Alexander's brother. That was Greece proper. So there we have the basic setup. So now we've been able to identify who is the kingdom of the north, namely the first Antiochus. It was it was the Seleucus, from whom came Antiochus, and Antiochus the Wicked, who was the one that lorded it over Israel. So now to go back to our Hebrew text of Daniel 11 with that information in our minds, we are going on now to verse 6, Uleketz shonim yischaboru. At the end of years, a number of unspecified years, these two kingdoms are going to join together, the south and the north. Here we have this successive historical intrigue. Uvas melech anegev tovo el melech hatzofon la'asos meishorim. The daughter of the king of the south, the daughter of the king of Egypt, is going to come, says Daniel, the angel says to Daniel, he's going to come to the kingdom of the north. She's going to go up to Babylon and Asia Minor, lasos meishorim, with the intention of making a just deal between the two. So they wanted to use marriage as a way to into dynastic marriages as a way to prop up their power. V'lo sa'atzor koyach hazroya, but she shall not she shall not gather the strength of the right arm, the strength of the force of the arm that is bringing her up there. V'lo ya'amoid u'zroyoi. The Hebrew text here is very elusive and even grammatically. Rashi explains on this phrase, Lo yisatzo koach hazroya shel mavieho. There'll be no strength in the hand of those bringing the Egyptian princess up to Asia, la'amoid lefonav, to be able to stand before the king of the north. Neither he nor his right arm; those are his warriors of strength. Neither he nor his zroah, his right arm, shall be able to stand up. V'sinosen he. And she shall be given over together with those who bring her and the woman that gave birth to her. This will be her nanny. Umachaziko boitim. And literally, this will be translated as that she would be using the itim, the times, astrological signs, in order to try to find out what is going to happen with this alliance. Well, we get more illumination on what is going on over here, again from Malbim, on the commentator on our present chapter, where he throws light from history on some of the intrigues that were going on in all of this. She was not going to be able to accomplish an alliance because the king of Egypt, who was going to be, what happened here when I need to go back a little to give a fuller explanation of this very interesting section of history. That the king of Egypt wanted to send his daughter up to Asia, and the Ptolemy, the king of Egypt, had died. He was the father of this Egyptian princess. I'm sorry, I'm confusing a little by having repeatedly to let me take Malbim's commentary from verse 6. He says that the king of the north was facing a rebellion in his kingdom. And that was why he was willing to go into this interdynastic marriage to make peace with his southern adversary through this marriage. And the deal was that Ptolemy Philadelphus, king of Egypt, was going to give his daughter in marriage to Antiochus, the northern king, on the condition that Antiochus was going to divorce his first wife. The princess of Egypt was one named Berenice, and the king of Antiochus was called Ladice. So Antiochus was faced with this very unpleasant situation that he has to divorce his wife in order to marry the Egyptian princess. And then the idea was that the king that would be born from Berenice, the Egyptian princess, would be a king over both kingdoms. And this was how they were going to go. But then the father of Berenice, the Egyptian princess, Ptolemy, he died, and that was when Antiochus Tehus brought back his first wife, and she was not trusting of anybody, and she didn't want the son of Berenice to inherit her husband. So actually she went around poisoning everybody, this first wife of Antiochus Terus, and she poisoned Berenice, the princess from Egypt, and all of her people who'd come with her. And it was then the son of Antiochus' first wife, Ladice, her son, who was called Seleucus Servinus, he then sat on the throne of the northern kingdom. And all this is telling us how it was. Malbim is here filling us in with the background of how it was that this whole plot to join the two kingdoms through the marriage was basically thwarted by Antiochus of the northern kingdom's first wife. So when Berenice was beginning to realize that she was threatened before she got poisoned, she started trying to provoke a popular rebellion against the other side, and everything was thrown into chaos. And through the strengthening of the son of Ladice, this was how the northern kingdom greatly strengthened itself, and it was from here that Antiochus the Wicked eventually went forth to conquer the land of Israel and to provoke the oppression that led to the rebellion of the Maccabees. So we can now continue with this Hebrew text here. We're seeing how these intrigues are playing out. Ve'omad minetzer shorosheho kanoi. There arose a son that was sitting on the foundation of the throne of the kingdom. Vayovo el achayr, vayovo b'ma'oz melech atzofon v'oso ve'em v'hechzik. He came to the army, and he came into the fortress of the king of the north, and he worked with them, and he gained power. He was able to conquer them. וגם אלוהיהם עם נסחיהם, עם כלי חמדוסום, כסב וזוהוב בשבי יובי מצרויים. Also their gods with their molten images and with the vessels of their delight, their silver, their gold, all was brought in captivity to Egypt. V'hu shonim yamoid mimelech hatzofon. And he for some years will stand over above the king of the north. Uvo b'malchus melech ha-Negev v'shov el admosoi. He's going to come down to the kingdom of the king of the south and then go back to his land. Uvonov yiskoru v'osfu hamoin chayolim rabim uvo voi v'shotaf v'ovar v'yoshoiv v'yisgore ad ma'uzoi. And his sons will provoke war, will tempt war, and they shall gather a great a mass of many soldiers, and he shall surely come and sweep across and pass by, and then he shall go back and he shall be making aggressive quarreling and unto its stronghold. So all this is telling us now of how the northern armies, the northern kingdoms, are now coming down into Egypt. Vayismarmar melech ha-Negev v'yotzo v'nilcham imoi im melech ha-Tzofon. Now, most bitterly shall be aroused the king of the south, and he shall go out, and he shall fight with him, with the king of the north. V'hemid homoin rov v'nitane homon b'yodoi. The king of the south, the king of Egypt, shall battle with the king of the north, and he shall establish there a great mass, and this mass shall be given into his hand. Says Rashi, the forces of the south will now be given into the hand of the king of the north. V'niso hehomoin yoroim. There should be this great mass. This is the mass of the king of the north. Shall now be exalted, uplifted in arrogance through their victory. V'rom levovoi, his heart shall be exalted. V'hipil riboyois v'lo yo'oz. He shall cast down many tens of thousands of the king of the south. But even so, the king of the north shall not gain the strength in the battle. So again and again, the northern king is trying to conquer Egypt. There comes back the king of the north, and he establishes a mass even greater than the first. And at the end of periods of years, he shall surely come with great strength and a great treasure. Uvoitim hohem rabim ya'amdu al melech ha-Negev. At that time, many shall stand up against the king of the south. Uvenei poritze amachor, the children of the poritz, the root of porit is someone who breaks forth. And this is a very important phrase for us to understand. The Poritze Amachor, these are the Poritzim, those are the rebels of your people. These are the people who have broken away from the true Torah tradition of Israel. Poritze Amacho Yinasa'u. These Poritzim, these rebels, they will be exalted. Lahamid Chozoin, in order to establish the vision, V'nichshalu, and they shall be caused to stumble. Now here we have a phrase that has been taken to allude to, firstly, those in Judea in the time of the Greeks, and particularly in the time of Antiochus, who were Hellenists, who wanted to turn to Hellenistic paganism and believed that thereby they could ingratiate themselves into the goodwill of their more powerful Greek neighbors and conquerors, and this is one allusion here in this phrase. A second allusion in this phrase would be to those in Judea, both before and after the destruction of the Second Temple, the time of the second and third and fourth generations of the followers of Jesus, with the development of the Christian religion in a direction of paganism, and later it became adopted by the Roman Emperor, adopted and adapted by the Roman Emperor, the Roman Empire from Constantine onward. So here will be another allusion of this expression that the Poritze Amacho, the people who have broken out of the true Torah tradition, those of your people that shall do that, they shall be exalted. They shall gain a position of influence, and they are attempting to establish the vision. That is to say, they are attempting to fulfill in themselves, or claiming to fulfill in themselves, things that have been prophesied by the prophets. V'nichshalu, but they shall stumble. So now we continue with this interminable wars of the north and the south. Vayovo melech hatzofoin, vayishpoch solelo, velochad ir mirvtzorois. There shall come the king of the north, and he shall pour out a solelo, that is a preparation for a siege, a great mound by the city walls. Velochad ir mirvtzoros, he shall capture the city of the fortresses. The strong arms of the south shall not be able to stand. Nor the people of his chosen warriors. There is no strength to stand. Egypt at that stage is not going to be able to withstand the oppression of the kingdom of the north. Vayas habo elov kirtsoinoi, the one that is coming to him shall do according to his desire. Ve'ein oimed lefonov, there's none to stand before him. Ve'yamoid be'eretz atzvi, he shall stand in the land of favor, the land of delight, the land of the deer. V'chola b'yodoi, it shall be diminished in his hand. Here we have an allusion to the Greek oppression over Israel. Israel is referred to in this phrase, Eretz HaTzvi, the land of the Tzvi. Israel's hills do have native deer, and a very beautiful spectacle that may be seen, for example, around En Gedi, near the Dead Sea, so-called the Salt Sea. And the whole of the land of Israel is referred to as the land of the deer, just like a deer skin, when it is removed from the deer, is all crinkled and crumpled up. But if you work it and spread it, you can spread it to a huge amount. So it's amazing how when the deer is skinned, the skin seems it could barely cover the animal, but the skin spreads out further and further, and so too the land of Israel is all, as it were, crumpled up with its hills and ridges. But as people fill up the Holy Land, the actual land becomes spread further and further. It's called the Eretz HaTzvi, the land of delight, the Holy Land of Israel, but it's going to come under the power of the Greeks, said Daniel. Vayosem Ponov, now the king of the north is putting his face, Lovoi Besukef Kol Malchusoi. He's going to come, he wants to come with the strength of his entire kingdom. Yishorim Imoi, and some of the Yishorim, some of the righteous with him. But also, and he will have success. Uvas Hanoshim Yiten Loi Lahashchiso, the daughter of women shall he give him to destroy her. V'loi samoid v'loi loi sihir, but he shall not stand, and not to him shall she be. Well, here is another quite complex verse to understand its allusions. Our commentators take it of the period of the Greek oppression of Israel under Antiochus the Wicked, and Antiochus' kingdom, tells us the commentator Metzudat David, is considered to be one with the subsequent exile under Rome, because it was Rome that captured the remains of the Greek Empire. So here in our verse, chapter 17, we have the king, the Greek king, King Antiochus, who is putting his face to come with all the strength of his kingdom. And when the verse says of Yishorim Imoi, with the Yisharim, the righteous with him, this, say our commentators, is an allusion to some of even the righteous of Israel, who thought that they could, as I said, ingratiate themselves with him by adopting Hellenistic customs. Even in the priestly caste of the Sadducees, there were many who went in a Hellenistic direction. So all of this is alluded to here in this verse. But as we know from history, Antiochus the Wicked did not succeed, and eventually he had to go away. And all this is alluded to in verses 17 and 18. In verse 17, we learn that Vas Hanoshim Yitein Loi Lahashchiso, the daughter of women, and this is an allusion to Israel, who is called the daughter that stands out among women, as in Song of Songs, chapter 5, verse 9, Hayafa Benashim. She is exceptionally beautiful. In Yiten Loi, the subject of this verb is he shall give to him, to the king of the north, he being the Almighty who is providentially running history. He is giving Israel into the hands of Antiochus to destroy her, or to spoil her. V'loi samod, but she shall not stay there. This shall not endure. This counsel of Antiochus will not stand. V'loi loi sihir, not to him shall she be. Israel shall not be to Antiochus. Vayosei meponov li'im v'lochad rabim. Antiochus, now stumbling in Israel, he sets his face to the islands and captures many. V'hishbis kotzin cherposoi loi. The Holy One, blessed be He, shall cause to cease. The Holy One, blessed be He. He is the katzin, the captain. The captain of history is causing to cease cherposoi, the insults of Antiochus, who blatantly desecrated the temple in the time prior to the Hanukkah miracle, and the Almighty would not allow him to get off without having vengeance taken from him. So the captain, that is God, caused to cease the insults of Antiochus. Bilti cherposoi yoshiv loi. Except that his insults, the Almighty will return to him into the face of Antiochus, who died with the most terrible illnesses. Vayoshiv ponov lema'uzei arzoi. He turned aside his face as Antiochus going off to the strongholds of his land. V'nichshal v'nofal v'lo yemotzei. He shall stumble, he shall fall, and he shall no longer be found. So with the destruction of one of the great villains who caused this suffering to Israel, we shall now conclude our study of Daniel chapter 11 for today, and with the help of God continue with the next section in our next session. So my dear friends, we shall now take a brief interval, and I'll be back in just a few minutes with Mishnah.
hayay sergoyim ala yochia hamala medo Hashem yadaya Hashem yadaya Machshavai Sodom Machshavai Sodom Machshavai Sodom Machshavai Sodom Ki hem ovel
Shalom, today the 22nd of Elul of year 5776, corresponding to the 25th of September of the year 2016. And today we begin the second chapter of the Mishnah of Makot, the tractate that follows immediately after Sanhedrin and is in many ways a continuation of Sanhedrin. And in our present chapter, chapter 2, the most important subject of the Torah, which is particularly relevant in our time when we have seen such a horrendous outburst of brutal murder, killing, abuse of the of human beings, the abuse of human beings through their humiliation and through the destruction of their bodies, through killing and maiming. And the commandment that stands at the top of the second tablet of stone, Lo tirtzach, you shall not kill, is one that recurs in different parts of the Torah. It is part of the covenant with Noah that killing must suffer retribution. It is part of the code in the portion of Mishpatim in Exodus, which comes right after the giving of the Torah in Yitro. There in the detailed laws of Mishpatim, we have the section about the difference between a willful murderer and a person that killed somebody by accident, unwittingly. That's the difference between murder and manslaughter and the various degrees of those. And the Torah in the end of the book of Numbers, and this is repeated in various places in Deuteronomy 2, the Torah prescribes that besides the 42 cities of habitation of the Levites up and down the land, 42 cities that were specifically prescribed for the Levites who had no share in the tribal allocations of the land of Israel. Besides these 42 cities, there were to be 6 special cities that were to exist for the sake of people that had killed and could immediately take flight to one of those cities of exile, where they would be able to live free from the danger of being killed by one whom the Torah calls the Goel Hadam, the redeemer of the blood. The idea is that if blood has been shed unjustly, there is a moral retribution that can only be satisfied by, in some way, the blood of the killer being shed. There has to be some expiation. Well, now, the concept of the Goel Hadam, the redeemer of the blood, is one that really predates the modern state, which takes to itself the exclusive right to take vindictive measures against transgressors of the law. The modern state will not tolerate officially people working outside the official police and judiciary, but in the tribal conditions of the ancient world, where there was no centralized governmental police force at many times in history, there would be often the cycle of violence where if somebody had shed someone else's blood, then a close relative of that killed person would want to shed the blood of the killer. And the Torah is trying to end this cycle of vengeance through the concept of the city of refuge, where an unwitting killer who had not intended this act would be able to take flight. He would have to stand trial, but his first recourse would be to go to the city of refuge, and the aggrieved parties would then have to call on the Bet Din to intervene and to have him brought to trial. He'd have to be brought with an escort of scholars, so that if anybody tried to harm him on the way to the trial, they would stop them. They'd say he's not allowed to be killed, he's not stood trial. And now after trial, if he was condemned to death for willful murder, he would be executed by decapitation, as we've already learned in Tractate Sanhedrin. If he was adjudged to be one of the categories of shogeg, unwitting killer, then he would go off into exile to the city of refuge. There he would have to live throughout the reign of the incumbent Kohen Gadol, the incumbent high priest. The Torah expressly provides that with the death of the high priest who was incumbent at the time of this killing, the unwitting killer would then be able to return home. And we shall see this all play out in chapter 2 of Makot, all of which deals with the questions surrounding unwitting killing as opposed to intentional murder, and as we shall see, different gradations of unwitting, unintentional killing, as we shall be seeing. For those of you who are watching this on YouTube, I'm experiencing a very slight technical issue at this moment, and I'm going to see if I'm able to overcome this and to show you what I would like to have you see on your screen. At the moment, my program is not responding, and let us see if it's going to respond to enable me to do what I hope to do.